outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and we got a really special show for you today. One of my most favorite people in the world, a fixture in Midtown Memphis, who was formerly with Molly's La Casita. Several generations of my family have grown up knowing Kelly. My kids think the world of her, and she's always made our time at the restaurant special. Kelly, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Alan. I appreciate it.
Well, Kelly, I guess tell us a little bit about an origin story. How did are you from Memphis?
I was born in Helena, Arkansas. My father was a disc jockey there for a while, but we only lived there 2 years after I was born. I'm the only person in my family for, I know, 6 generations that was not born in Memphis. So I kind of like that distinction.
Yeah.
For some reason. So I grew up in Memphis, went to Messick High School, went to campus school for elementary, then Messick, and had numerous jobs, and then fell into Molly's. That was a continuation of a job I had with Molly's on Lamar in 1974 and 1975. My older brother and I worked for her. So I had been working at, go ahead.
So you worked for Molly?
Yes, I did. Actually worked for her in the 70s.
What was she like?
She did not care for me very much. I can tell you that right now. She worshiped my brother, just worshiped him. But every time if she saw me take a tip, she would tell me to take it back to him. And I was so young, I was just intimidated. So I would go out and try to give the person the money back, and they would just laugh and say, just put it in your pocket, Kelly. She's not going to know. But she was a nice lady. I really loved Molly very much.
What kind of businesswoman was she?
Not a fantastic businesswoman. Robert Chapman is the one who really got the restaurant going. Molly had called Robert in 1982 and had told him that the health department had shut her down in that old building on Lamar. And she didn't know what to do, and she was crying horribly, Robert told me. And Robert didn't want to lose her food. And he reached out to some restaurant people, Mr. Sam Bomarito of Pete and Sam's, Thomas Boggs of Huey's, and several others. And they helped Robert get equipment together and secure a location. And the rest is a history of 38 years strong on Madison.
Right. How long was she with us on Madison?
Molly died in 1996. I'm pretty sure it was 96. And her role on Madison was, Robert bought her out long before Molly died. Mm-hmm. But Robert, being who Robert is, every 2 weeks he gave her a paycheck. He paid her before he paid himself, which speaks volumes of his character.
Sure.
And Molly would come down there, Mr. Edwards, the driver there. She would come down there at least 5 days a week, and she would try taco meat, chili gravy, beans, rice, and salsa. Those were the 5. And when she walked in, whoever was managing needed to hightail it to the kitchen and get her those things on a plate. And I have a fabulous story to tell if there's time for it.
Absolutely.
One day I was working and Molly came in, and she had her one particular table she'd like to sit at, table 47, right there by the lattice, by the restrooms. And I went and got her her plate of food, and Ruben Romero, a longtime employee, was back in the kitchen, which I was grateful because he was fantastic at his job, and he had just made taco meat. And I said, Ruben, let me taste the taco meat real quick before I take out her plate of food. I tasted it. It tasted fantastic, I thought. So I go out and take her the food, set it down, go on about my business. I come walking back through to go to the kitchen to get a table's food, and she grabs me by the arm, and I mean hard. And I said, what is it, Miss Molly? And she said, can I cuss on the show?
Sure,
I have a
sure.
bad, just, she said, what is this shit? And I said, my God, what are you talking about? And she said, this taco meat. And I said, Ruben just made that taco meat, Molly. I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, you better go talk to him about it. He cooked it 10 minutes too long. And inside, I'm like going, there's no way. How in the world can you even say that? So I turn and I go back to the kitchen and I say to Ruben, what can you tell me about this taco meat? And as God is my witness, he looked at me and he said, I'm sorry, Kelly, I cooked it 10 minutes too long. And I went, what? And he said, I cooked it 10 minutes too long. I cooked the sauce 10 minutes too long. I said, oh my God. I walked back to Molly and I said, well, he cooked it 10 minutes too long, Molly. And she looked at me and she said, I know that. What I want to know is why. And I was like, holy moly. I went to the office and called Robert and I said, you better be sitting down for this one, man, because you're not going to believe this. And I told him the story and Robert laughed and he said, Kelly, I knew she was good, but I had no idea she was that good. It's one of my favorite stories to tell of her.
Well, that's someone who
So
knows their business.
Absolutely. She knew her business, no doubt about it. And Robert never added a dish to the menu until it got her approval, because he developed numerous dishes on the menu as well as I did as well.
What do you think she would say was her strongest offering at Molly's? What was she the proudest of what she served?
I would have to say her beans, because they stand out from any other beans in any other Mexican restaurant I've ever been anywhere in the country. Her beans are signature. You're not going to find them anywhere else.
You're right about that. I rarely, outside of Molly's, I rarely bother with the beans, because the beans are, I don't know, they're a little mushy and that a lot of times they don't have a lot of flavor, but hers they stand out. That's a wonderful point. What do you think it is? I mean, Molly's, as you say, has been around 38 plus years, has survived good times, bad times, survived the pandemic. It looks like, I hope. What do you think is the ingredient, if you will, to the success of the store, of the restaurant itself?
Well, I tell you, Alan, we've been fortunate enough to have employees there who've been there for decades. And that speaks volumes for Robert and Jamie, Robert's wife, Jamie, who runs it now and has since his death. We're a family. And people feel that when they come in. And me being there as long as I was there, I always had great stories to tell people. And I think that people could tell that I loved the employees and I loved Molly's. I loved the business, and I stood up for our business and stood up for the employees. And we were just, we had moments of dysfunction, as any family can have dysfunction. But all in all, I think that we're a very close and cohesive group. And that, anytime I was out sick or had some kind of tragedy in my life, I can't tell you how many times that my cooks and my dishwashers would call and check on me, as well as the waiters. But my guys in the back of the house really, really protected me. And I love that about those guys. So it's unusual for me not to be working there, but I still go there and meet people up there for dinner, and it's a good thing. I'm too old for that job.
Well, as you know, my children, every single one of them, sat on the floor in a car seat at Molly's as they were coming up, and I guess it's a testament to 2021, kind of where we are. When I went home from college, I wanted to go and get a certain dish that my mother made. When my kids come home from college, they want to go to Molly's, and I think it's as much for that family feeling as it is for the food.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. If I had $1 for every time throughout the years that I would see a family come in or a couple, and they said, oh my God, we just got back in town and we just left the airport and our first stop was Molly's. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, I would be living on a beach somewhere. And that's just not an exaggeration. It's just the truth. And I feel so fortunate to be a part of a restaurant that I've seen 3 generations, and I love that. And speaking of your kids and your family, y'all are one of my favorite families, without a doubt. And I just love your kids and wish them the best. And I hope that someday I can come up there and meet y'all for dinner and catch up.
We'll do it.
Because
Do it.
James getting his yellow cheese dip, we can't have that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we walk in and everybody knows particularly James, what James wants, because his order is so particular. Of course, his order everywhere is very particular. I mean, you name any restaurant in Memphis where he goes, and he has an off the menu order that they give for him. But Molly's is one of those places. Now, let me ask you this. Molly's was Mexican food before Mexican food was cool in Memphis. I remember back in the day,
Yes.
it basically was Pancho's and Molly's and maybe a couple other chains, national type.
Yeah, Gonzalez and Gertrude's and Ponchos.
And Pancho's. I forgot about G&G's. That's right. That was big when I was in college. And of course, it's not there anymore.
No.
What's the business? What do you think? Is there another business reason why Molly's is able to stand out now amid a proliferation of Mexican restaurants? I mean, everywhere you go, every block in Memphis seems like they've got a pretty good Mexican restaurant on it. But Molly's keeps chugging along. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do have thoughts on that, Alan. I'm glad you asked that question, because when Mexican just became all the rage, I have to admit it made me nervous, because as you said, on every corner, it seems like there's a dang Mexican restaurant. But our food, Molly's food, is just so dang different. It's different. There's no other place like that food that you're going to get. And as far as I'm concerned, and in a lot of ways, you're not going to find the family atmosphere that I think that Molly's has had and continues to have. I mean, it means a lot. People have told me through the years, when they walk in the door, and James was bartending and they'd go to the bar, James would have their drink sitting there long before they even sat down.
Mm-hmm.
And same way with the waiters, because they've been there for so many years. Somebody would come in and there their drinks would be, or their cheese dip, or whatever, what have you, on their table. So I think that plays a lot into our longevity. But of course, the food more than anything else, and everything else is just icing on the cake.
Well, speaking of stories, you've got to have a couple stories you can tell. What's one of the more memorable things that happened in your career at Molly's?
Well, I tell you, Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top was a huge Molly's fan, and he went there on the Mar So I'm sorry, my dog is chewing up my boots. Stop that.
Uh-oh.
And he used to go to Molly's on Lamar. And when Molly and Robert opened on Madison, he would come there. And Billy Gibbons is a huge fan of Molly's beans. In fact, he was just in town, I think a month ago.
Mhm.
Jamie sent me a picture. They were at the bar and she sent me a picture of she and Billy. And one night, Billy was in town. It was his birthday. And he had, I don't know, 12 or 13 people with him. I was off that night. And Lisa Molay, we called her Lisa Molay. That's not her name is Lisa, but of course, Molay is not her last name, but we called her Lisa Molay. She called me up and she said, you need to bring your guitar and come down here to Molly's because Billy Gibbons is going to be here for his birthday. And I said, I'm not doing that. And she said, I want you to do it, please. And I said, I'm not doing that, Lisa. And she just begged me. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And I didn't really want to. So I get there and hug Billy and tell him happy birthday. And I whispered to him, I said, Billy, I'm sorry, but Lisa made me bring my guitar and she wants me to play for you. And he said, well, okay, well, let's do it. And I was like, really? He said, and so I went to the back room, the room where Molly always liked to sit, because Billy was up front with the big table and all his girlfriend and all the guys and just numerous people. So I go to the back room and I started playing. And I tell you, Alan, I played for him for about 2 hours.
Wow.
And by the end of it, all his table, they were all in the back with me, listening to me. And when I finished, Billy said, I said, what can you show me, Billy? And he said, I'm not going to show you anything. You're good. I said, well, okay, thank you. Of course, that's a selfish memory.
It's a cool story, though.
Yeah. I know that Traveler Crawford, one of our employees, he's mentally challenged, but he's been with us 30 years. And we always try to do things special for him. And I know one year in particular, for his birthday, we got him a bicycle. And he couldn't believe it. You would have thought we'd given him $1 million. And he got on that bicycle and just rode through that restaurant time and time again. It was wonderful. And the customers laughed and some of them got a little teary-eyed and it was sweet. I mean, I don't even know where to begin to tell stories. Molly's is haunted.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Who's the ghost?
Beg your pardon?
Who's haunting? Who's the ghost?
I don't know. And I had Memphis Paranormal Group up there one night. I had called them and I said, I have a lot of video and audio evidence of spirits in Molly's. And when they came down and I showed them on my phone, they were like, you got this on your phone? I said, well, you're looking at it and you're listening to it. And they were stunned, absolutely stunned. I have a video of a shadow figure going into that long, narrow room. I have audio of direct conversations. They said there's about 14 people in that restaurant, one being a little girl. And I think the little girl is attached to the church pew, but I do not know that for sure.
I see.
And I'm a sensitive, so it's not surprising to me that all this has happened with me up there.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the other employees are too, and we've just heard things and seen things, and some customers as well. Now, they don't bother customers. No customer has ever said, oh my gosh, I'm never coming back here again because it's too weird here. That does not happen. It happens with us and it happens with me. A lot of things, I go looking for it after everyone is gone from the restaurant and it's late at night, and I'll try to communicate, and I've gotten a lot of stuff. It's very interesting. I would like to know who these people are, and I have asked them. I know that one time Robert Bertling, who just became a detective with the Germantown Police, was there, and his wife and daughter loved the stuff that I did there regarding these hauntings. Rob came in the office and I was recording with Meredith and Carly, and my phone just started going nuts. And Rob got on there and I said, Rob, talk to him. And Rob said, you know, he identified himself and he said, if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Well, the phone went nuts and my EMF detector went crazy. So I stopped it and we went back and we listened to it. And right after Rob says, if I can do anything for you, I'll be glad to help you, you hear this, Rob, I need your help. As plain as day, as plain as, I don't know if you could hear that, but the man says, Rob, I need your help. A disembodied male voice.
Wow.
Now, some people don't like it that I tell those stories, but I think that it's very interesting. I mean, downtown is so haunted, it's crazy.
Mhm.
We're not like downtown, but we are haunted.
What did that building used to be? Do you know?
I know that years and years ago, the Blue Monkey has an excellent photograph, an old photograph of the storefront. And in front of the Blue Monkey is a horse-drawn carriage with the word ice on it. So the Blue Monkey side was like a sundry store,
Mhm.
and the Molly side was a cleaners. And that area, the long, narrow corridor that people call the bus, and I still call it the booths because we used to have booths over there, the booth section. That's all brick. Those doors were not, those three like doorways were not there. It was a solid wall, and it was brick because that's where the laundry stored fur coats in the summertime because there wasn't air conditioning back then, of course.
Mm.
And so that's the first thing that I know that it was.
Mm.
So I don't know if it was anything before then. I don't think it was.
Well, the area where the dairy used to be the East End amusement park.
Yes, my mother used to go there.
So I would imagine that corner there was probably a lot of commercial activity right there because people would come out to, I think the streetcar turned around there, went back. So that's interesting. Who's the most famous person you ever met in Molly's?
Ooh. Well, having Ardent next door to us, we've had tons of musicians. I would probably have to say Stevie Ray Vaughan, and what was his brother's name? The two brothers. They recorded their most famous album next door at Ardent, and I was bartending back then, and bartending for them. They came in every day.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I saw him was a Wednesday, and 2 weeks later was when that helicopter crashed.
Oh.
And Stevie Ray was killed. So I really appreciate my time with them. REM came in every night. They did Green Day next door, and they were super nice, except for the lead singer, David Snipe, I think is his name. He was weird.
Well, I think that's an occupational hazard of lead singers.
Yes, I think so. But everybody else was just real jovial and really interactive with the staff. They just loved us. And I can't tell you how many albums have thanks to Molly's on it, Red Hot Chili Peppers. What's that name of that group? I don't know. There's so many, Alan. I can't remember all of them. But I tell you what, that has been really a highlight of that restaurant too, because when people would see people, they would just go, bonkers. So that was a lot of fun in and of itself.
Well, in addition to being Mexican food before Mexican food was cool, Molly's has also been essentially Overton Square when Overton Square went through a lot of lean times and is still kicking along. And I think I remember when the Lobes began redeveloping it, you and I talked about that it was either going to, propel Molly's or kill it. But I just don't think you can kill Molly's. As you say, it's just too good. It's too good. It's too good.
Well, we're struggling right now, to be honest. I mean, I'll just tell you, and there are many restaurants who are. We don't have enough staff. there's not enough staff to run it
Yep.
at full capacity. There's not enough waiters, and we're missing, we would love to have at least 2 more cooks and 2 or 3 more waiters, and we'd be fine. But I mean, I was at a very popular restaurant last night, and a friend of mine that was with me kind of complained about, I can't understand, there's tons of empty tables. And I said, hey, look, they're probably shorthanded. They can't seat anybody else. So that's something that's happening to a lot of people. I think that we'll survive. I don't think that anything will happen to Molly's. If it did, I would be quite shocked, because we've gone through so many lean times. I mean, when Overton Square died, that was a scary time. Because there was no traffic at all. And I remember when Bob Loeb was wanting to develop down there, one of his assistants came up to Molly's, and she was interviewing people, or I don't know if interview is the right word, just talking to people, and wanted their opinion of Bob going in to revitalize it. And I went, she said, what are your feelings on that? And I said, well, dear God, you can't open fast enough down there. Please open every storefront down there. Please, business breeds business. And she looked at me and she said, well, thank you for that. And I said, well, what do you mean, thank you? Surely that's what everybody's saying. And she said, you'd be surprised. There are a lot of people who don't want us to open up down there. And I said, well, that's insane, because you want the traffic. You want the dang traffic, and letting cars park out in front in the bike lane, I think were essential to those businesses. Now, we would love to have a big parking lot. If we had a parking lot, our business would be even better, but people are very discouraged by that. So that's sad in and of itself, but we don't have any control over that. So yeah, Overton Square opening back up was the best thing in a long time that's happened.
Could you imagine if one of the original plans not too long ago to put a big box supermarket where the parking garage is, if that had happened? I'm just so glad that it worked out the way it did.
Me too. I am too. That I wish people would use that parking garage more and just walk down to Molly's and walk down to the Blue Monkey. And I think TJ Mulligan's is going in where Elbow is right now.
That's right.
And just walk up there. It's not that long of a walk. Of course, we have a lot of an older generation too, and they're not going to do that. And I wouldn't expect them to, but young people should.
Right. Well, I'll say this as I want to switch gears on you a little bit, but a little plug to our audience: go out to dinner tonight or tomorrow night and tip heavy, tip big. Yes. These folks that wait on you, they rely on those tips, and I just can't tell you how important it is to leave a good tip. It makes their day. Sometimes it might even be the difference between making their bills or not making their bills. So go out to dinner and tip your wait staff heavily. Tip more than you think you should.
And I'd like to comment on that too, if I may, Alan.
Okay.
I've had the discussion / argument with people for years over tipping, and people would say to me, I don't think it's my responsibility to pay your staff. To which I would say, you know what? If you want me to pay the wait staff $15 an hour, $20 an hour, then your $10 margarita is going to cost you $25. And I bet you don't want to pay $25 every time you get one of those margaritas. I would much rather go out to a restaurant and leave a tip, because tip stands for to ensure proper service, than inflated prices in food. So I couldn't agree more. I mean, people have gotten on to me too about, I heard someone the other day said to me, well, doesn't that tell you, Kelly, that y'all should have been paying your employees more before this pandemic? And I said, well, you can stop right there. We have paid our dish room and our cooks an excellent wage an excellent wage. We were ahead of the time, I'm very happy to say, where that is concerned. Now, the wait staff, they still make their normal, what, $2.50 an hour or something?
213.
But yeah, we're fortunate enough to have regular clientele such as yourself who go above and beyond what's typically expected for a tip. And that's what keeps them there. That's what makes them happy. And you are right. Please, everybody, go out and tip and have a good time. We need it. We need it, and so does everyone else.
Yes, yes, we all need to get back in the saddle. And I was at the Grizzlies game last night. This will date this show a little bit. It was the last playoff game in Memphis. Well, the last one currently scheduled. Hopefully they'll be back for another for game 6. But I'm based on what happened last night, I'm not too optimistic. But you know, it's just I was sitting there and everybody's got their mask on. And Kelly, you know, I was real involved in shutdown on the government side and the reopening. And I've read as much as anybody has, and I've been as big a supporter of masks as anyone. And there are lots of people, even with vaccines, that can't get the vaccine or whatever, that still need the mask, and that's fine. But I think we all need to kind of readjust our thinking that we're out of this thing where we got to worry about the hospitals filling up, and we got to go back out to eat. We got to go back out to work. And Molly's is a good just microcosm of that kind of phenomenon, that it's people's lives, it's people's livelihoods, people's careers, people's lives. And the more we can open up our hearts and our pocketbooks and get back to doing what we were doing before as soon as possible, I think we'll be in better shape.
Absolutely. And I wish people would relax a little bit. Now, we've made people mad because we are truly rule followers where all this has been concerned. Mm-hmm. And the CDC says something, well, we do it. Whereas other people were not doing it. We did it. We would make people mad. But, we just wanted to be careful.
Well, let me ask you this. You've been in the restaurant business a good while.
Yes, sir.
And you've seen things come and you've seen things go. Do you think there are some innovations that not just Molly's, but that the industry has gone through that are, for good or bad, are going to stay as a result of this whole thing?
Well, I think that people paying more attention to people's health, and the cleanliness. I love going in somewhere and there's, hand sanitizer right there. I mean, would I think that it would be necessary before? No, I don't. But do I think it's perhaps necessary now? Yeah, I don't mind doing that. I don't mind, a lot of people, they'll go and wash their hands anyway before they eat, as anyone should. But to be able to walk to a station in a restaurant or any business and be able to use some hand sanitizer, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel safer. And I like that part of what this pandemic has done. That's about the only thing I like about it. But I think that we've learned a lot. But it's, as you said, it's now time for people to let's relax and still start going out and having fun and just be aware. Don't go out if you're sick.
Yeah.
Please don't. And I can't tell you how many times I would wait on somebody or seat somebody and they start sneezing and, they can't even speak because they're so sick. And I'd look at them like, why are you here? I don't want to get sick, you numbskull, Right. So people need to be more careful of that. And I think that has come out of this as well, that people will be more aware of their well-being and knowing the serious consequences if they go out and spread their germs. So that I like.
Well, I understand you've, over the last couple of months, you've taken up maybe not a new hobby, but you've reacquainted yourself with photography. Is that right? Yes,
I've been really focusing on some photographs for a couple of years, and I'm enjoying that a lot. And several people have suggested I have a show, so I'm kind of looking into that. I'm not the best photographer in the whole wide world, and I don't claim to be, but I will say this, and I need to get back in touch with him. Bill Eggleston, considered the father of color photography, and Robert were extremely good friends. And on one of my trips to Alaska, and it may have been my first trip, I don't remember, but there are a couple of photographs that really stood out to me. And I asked Bill one time when he was at the restaurant, I said, if you're coming next week, I want to bring some photographs and have you look at them. He said, okay, that's fine, Kelly, whatever. Well, he came back and I had the photographs with me and he started looking through them and he said, let me tell you something. I'd like to put my name on a couple of these. And I went, really? I said, oh my God, Bill, that's awesome. Put that in writing, man, and sign it. So I've been doing a lot with it, and I've got some of them sitting out right now, and I love it. I love the detail that I'm getting, and it's just something that I'd really like to delve into a little bit more, and I'd like to share that my work with people. And I have a particular tree that I like to photograph, and I call it my little tree. It's my little tree, and I've photographed it for the last couple of years, and people just go nuts over my little tree, and so it's been fun. I'm on Facebook, and so I post my pictures. I love taking pictures of clouds, and I take pictures of my two little knuckleheads that I have, Jesse James Johnson, the outlaw, and little Ollie, my newest dog, because Jesse James is old. And I take pictures of them, and it's just something that I really love. My dad was a fantastic photographer, and Nancy, my partner of 29 years, was a fantastic photographer. She passed away 2 years ago. And so I'd like to think that I'm channeling a little bit of both of them when I take my pictures. Nancy, above our fireplace is a picture of the Bridge of Sighs, I think it's what it's called, in Florence. And Nancy took it from a cathedral, and it's at a certain angle of the bridge. And she was looking through her gourmet magazine one day, and she said, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe this. Come look at this. And it was a picture and taken from the exact same place that Nancy had taken her picture, which proved that she has a good eye, or she had a good eye for photography and angles and things. And I hope that I'm doing her proud as well as my dad.
Well, very good. Very good. That's a great reason to do anything. Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I'm back in my music a little bit more, and I'm enjoying that as well. And I'm into gardening. I've put a couple of flower beds out front. I got real frustrated one day, and I went out with the chainsaw and cut down all the bushes in front of my house. And with my neighbor coming over and saying, well, I see you just cut down the bushes I planted 10 years ago. And I was like, oh, Mike, I'm so sorry. I didn't remember that you planted these. So that was embarrassing, but I love the flower beds, and they're coming along nicely. And so I'm enjoying my life. I'm happy for the first time in many years. I've had a lot of tragedy in my life the past 6 years, more than most people have in a lifetime. And don't have the stress of running a restaurant anymore. Like I said, I'm too old for it. And, Jamie has hired a guy to take over, and I'm so happy for that. And just not having this stress, I'm happy. I'm just happy and grateful. And do I appreciate my time at Molly's? You better believe it. And I'll take up for that restaurant until the day I die. And I'll be a part of that restaurant until the day I die. I told somebody the other day, I said, well, I expect the red carpet treatment when I go in there, and for people to stand up and give me a round of applause every time I walk in. Of course, that doesn't happen. But when I went in the other day, I couldn't walk 3 feet without a table grabbing me and saying, oh my God, it's so glad to see you. I'm so glad you're here. We've really missed you. And that just makes my heart smile so big. That
Doesn't surprise me at all, Kelly. Doesn't surprise me at all. Maybe
well,
you'd be able to sit down at what was it, table 47,
yes, sir.
and have and be able to tell if the taco meat was cooked 10 minutes too long.
Wouldn't that be something? I'm not as good as Molly, I can tell you that, but wow, that's a story I'll never forget. And
That's a great story.
maybe one day I'll be as good as her, but I doubt it.
Well, Kelly, at the end of our time, I really have enjoyed chatting with you, as I always do, and thank you for some of those stories, that just need to be told, so that people, don't forget the history behind important places in Memphis like Molly's. Molly's is an important place in Memphis because of the memories people have of it, and the positive associations, and just the great times that happened there. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you for having me on, Alan. I really do appreciate your family's love for Molly's and y'all's love for me, actually. And I hope someday soon y'all give me a call and I'll meet y'all up there and we'll have some yellow cheese dip together.
We'll do it. We'll do it. All right. Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank all of you for watching. And if you've enjoyed this episode, and let's not kid ourselves, of course you loved it. This was great. You found out about ghosts at Molly's, and you found out about Billy Gibbons and his love for Molly's, and many, many other things. So please share us on social media, forward this to someone you think would enjoy it, and go to Molly's or go to another restaurant, and again, tip your wait staff. So this is Alan Crone. I'm going to go get some justice. Kelly is going to go take some pictures and work on her flowers, and we'll see you all at Molly's real soon.